It's about the platform that gives you virality that no other platform does, right? So which platforms give you virality? Well, back then it wasn't YouTube because my mom was not on YouTube. And also, it's not a social experience. YouTube is a silo experience. It's a not social experience. But Facebook was. If you like something, all your friends see that you liked it. That's a viral material right there. So if my friend liked my video, all their friends will see the video. Massive. I'm never bearish on anything cohort-based. So I'm still very, very bullish. I still think that completion rates are 10 times higher. I still think the days of buying a video on the internet and watching it is done. We get 1% of 1% of the value that we generate. 1% of the 1%. Imagine we're entertaining and educating 400 people, 450 million times every month. And that ad revenue from that is roughly like 40K.
Welcome to Media Empires, where we sit down with the most influential media creators right now to learn exactly how they built their empires. Our aim is to extract the secrets of top-tier podcasters, newsletter authors, and media creators who are breaking the old rules for media success. Whether you're looking to start your own empire or simply curious about the nuts and bolts behind media businesses, you'll find valuable insights and tactics in each episode. Grab your headphones, let's dive in. Riverside is a presenting sponsor of Media Empires. It's an essential part of our tech stack. Riverside makes scaling a media business possible for us and so many podcasters and creators. It's our online recording studio, not just for the show, but across the entire podcast network. Riverside lets us record interviews with the best guests from wherever they are in the world. Our team can also cut short-form clips directly from Riverside, because as any listener of this show knows, you create once and then publish everywhere. Sign up for Riverside.fm today by following the link in the description box and use our code MEDIAEMPIRES to get a 20% discount.
Hey everybody, today's conversation is with Nuseir Yassin, the creator and CEO of Nas Company, a community-driven production studio that empowers creators to become educators. Nuseir is mostly known for his viral 1,000 daily 1-minute-long videos online under Nas Daily. This episode is full of discussion about the value of followers on social media, how to create viral content, and why people are creating community content. Without further ado, here's Nas.
Nuseir, welcome to Media Empires. Thanks so much for joining the podcast.
Thank you so much, my friend. I'm excited to build a media empire with you.
Amazing. So speaking of media empires, when you look at the arc of your career building a media empire, both on the Nas Daily side and on the Nas Academy side, what's the thread that ties your interests together, or that's sort of the guide on how you want to spend your time and make the biggest impact that you uniquely can?
Damn, dude, you're starting strong. What's the common thread between all the ecosystem that we're trying to build?
Yeah.
The common thread is, does this bring people together? Is this like a net positive to the world? Is it social in nature? Is it about people in nature? If it is, then we do it. If it's not, then we don't do it. So Nas Academy is like teaching students, right? Nas.io is a technology software to build community. It's all about bringing people together. Nas Daily content is about bringing people together. So all these three things. So now if I look at businesses, I'm like, okay, if I want to start a business, I cannot start an ice cream business because it doesn't bring people together. Yeah. So I want to start things that bring people together. And that's the common thing. That's the mission statement of the company. That's what I'll be doing for the next 50 years of my life.
Love it. Love it. Let's get into the creator side first. So yeah. you get out of college, you join Venmo, and that you save some money. You then go out to create 1,000 videos in 1,000 days. You build an enormous audience in the process. What do you think is your superpower on the creator side that enabled you to build such a unique, big and loyal audience, relative to all the other creators out there? And how did you kind of lean into that, or understand what makes you really tick? What makes you really special?
So why are people following me? Like, that's a really good question. I'm trying to figure out the answer to that today. Like, I don't know why. It's definitely not my looks. It's definitely not my arrogance.
Don't sell yourself short, man.
It's not my arrogance, which I'm starting to develop some. It's not my background. I think it's because of my opinions, right? I think there's a lot of strong opinions in Nas Daily, and the way we put effort into every piece of content, I think people are noticing it. So I think they like the way we talk.
Yeah.
The way we talk is a very specific way. It's very simple, easy to understand, very slow, but it's also very global. It's about things that are important, and it's not about, putting people down. It's about lifting people up. Those 7 things is why people follow Nas Daily. So if I was a little bit better looking, I would have way more followers.
Yeah.
But this is the best we can get.
Yeah. Well, I guess that's encouraging to me as someone who's about to go out there and I'm just kidding.
No,
I'm
totally.
just kidding.
You and I are equally attractive and equally ugly. So,
Exactly. Exactly.
yeah.
Were you clicking from the very beginning, or did you notice like what was sort of the big inflection point on when your stuff really started to take off?
So Nas Daily was not a one night success, right? It's things really started to take off day 271. So I made 270 videos up in 270 days up until something started to click. I started to understand how to make videos, bam, bam, bam. Everything started to lead to another, and then bam, you got it. Then Nas Daily really, really took off was day 609, which is when the algorithms of Facebook changed. Everything started to get a million views every single time, right? So algorithm changes and then better videos together after 600 attempts started to click. Now, the algorithms continuously change every now and then. There's always new things, but I think today, 1 minute vertical video is kind of like this is the time for it.
You got big on Facebook. How did you think about? I mean, you're big on multiple platforms, but how did you think about like which platform made the most sense for you and what you were building?
Yeah, it's about the platform that gives you virality that no other platform does, right? So which platforms give you virality? Well, back then it wasn't YouTube because my mom was not on YouTube. And also, it's not a social experience. YouTube is a silo experience. It's a not social experience. But Facebook was. If you like something, all your friends see that you liked it. That's a viral material right there. So if my friend liked my video, all their friends will see the video. Massive, right? So this is why I chose Facebook. I think the virality could exist a little bit now on LinkedIn and TikTok. So that I would like totally like try to go there, as well as Twitter, YouTube Shorts as well, right? So this is why I chose Facebook, because within one day you can reach everybody in the country, and it worked like awesome,
How did you think about monetization over time?
Monetization, well, money was never the goal, and it still is not. When I started, I had enough savings, so I don't have to worry about money for 2 years. My goal was to get the VWS, not the USD. So the VWS is a different currency. It's the views currency, right? And the more views you get, eventually you'll get USD. So if you get 1 million followers, eventually you'll be able to make $1 million. That was very convinced of that, and I still am. So once I get to the 10 million follower range, then I started to make $1 million from brands, from sponsorships, from whatever. But until then, it was just like self-funded and basically operating as break even.
Yeah, and how should we think about? Because I'm a bit newer to the space. Like, how much a follower is worth on relative platforms?
Yeah, right now followers are worth exactly 0 on all platforms. The number of followers actually does not matter. It's actually useless. It's a useless metric. What matters is like community. How many of your followers you have turned into a community? And this is what I've been thinking about for the next 5-6 years now, right? Community is like how many of these followers have actually migrated with you to another platform, and you have their data, their email or their phone number, and you can like charge them a monthly membership or whatever, right? That's probably your follower count. And so number of followers on YouTube is actually meaningless, same as TikTok, same as Facebook. Because now it's all interest-based algorithm. It's no longer follower-based. You can make a video, none of your followers will see it. It doesn't matter, right? Because it's not a good video. If it's a good video, everyone will see it, including people that are not your followers.
Yeah.
So that's why I encourage everybody to build a community.
And maybe that's a segue, but what is the best way, or talk about the best ways for people to convert follow their audience to kind of a subscriber base, i.e., a community, a paid community.
Yeah, well, this is what I've been thinking about for the last year, right? I've been thinking about this so much, and I realized, shit, there are no good platforms to build community. Like, what's the point of getting all my followers to Discord? I still don't own them, and Discord is not used by anybody, like by most people. So like, what's the point of moving them to like any other social media platforms? It doesn't matter. So this is why we ended up building Nas.io, which is basically a community SaaS. It's a community platform that helps you manage and own your own community. And Nas.io sits on top of Discord. So you can still get people to Discord, but you get them through Nas.io. It's a CRM for community. I think we built it and now I use it to manage my community. I actually think it's the best way to manage a community because everything is just like 2 clicks away. You can email them, you can WhatsApp them, and you can put them in Discord or Telegram or whatever, and you can show them courses and you can monetize them. So it's like all in one kind of CRM. So I use Nas.io. I think other people could use Patreon. They could use, actually, that's it. Maybe some email marketing stuff. But there's not a whole lot of options out there. And so that's why I think that the opportunity here to build a unicorn building community is massive.
Yeah, no, totally. For the narrow audience, or for the narrow use case of newsletters, I think Substack is cool because you own your own email list, and they help you with recommendations, and you can monetize. And so something that does that for YouTubers or other different types of creators could be really awesome.
Exactly.
So, yeah.
So we do exactly what Substack does, but for community, not for newsletters. So if you want to have them on WhatsApp, Telegram, Discord, or if you want to have them, watch video content as opposed to just written content. So basically, we're complementing Substack and Patreon in helping creators monetize.
Yeah, and it's really interesting because you are a creator entrepreneur, so you understand both sides. And when we were talking previously, one thing you mentioned is that one of the reasons why you moved to entrepreneur, in addition to having a bigger impact and because you're entrepreneurial, is because you mentioned that. You didn't say these exact words, but you said something like creator has somewhat of a short half-life in the sense of platforms are incentivized to find new creators. Talk about that and what that means.
Yeah, look, I think most creators don't recognize this, but do you remember who PewDiePie is? PewDiePie for a while was the biggest thing ever, but now nobody really talks about him. He's no longer relevant, right? So he still gets millions of views, but actually he's not in the ether. So I think people need to recognize you have, like, let's say 5 years as a shelf life, 5, 6, 7 years max as a shelf life. And then the algorithm the best interest of the algorithm is to find a better Eric, a better Nas Daily, a fresher Nas Daily, a more attractive Nas Daily, right? And it'll come. And these guys will be born and they will copy you and they'll be 10 times better. So this is why people need to understand what their exit plan is. One is owning your community. But second is like building and monetizing that community with products. Some people do a clothing line, other people do a food line, other people do a merch line. I've decided to build a technology company, right, as a way to monetize my community and build up the next thing. So I'm moving from creator to technology entrepreneur as my next bet.
Yeah, and let's talk about kind of the different paths that people could take. I mean, because even you've kind of explored a few different paths. Maybe talk about the first iteration of Nas Academy and what you learned from it and how that led to this evolution.
Yeah, so the first path I explored was production company, production house, which I still have, right? So out of 1 million people watching this, one person will be a brand that wants production, and we do it for them. The next path is, hey, selling education, right? Creating educational courses and selling them, right? And then helping creators monetize their education and their knowledge. Also really cool path. Still working, right? But I've realized it's like very operational. So both of these paths are very operational. And it still makes you a service business. Still got to create the big course, still got to sell it, still got to have the human aspect to it. And that's like, I'm tired of like non-scalable businesses. So that's why we've moved to the SaaS technology path, which is much more scalable. You build up on top and you continuously make Nas.io better with better features, more powerful and all that stuff. So that's sort of been the iteration. And I think a lot of creators have a hard time, not being in the rat race. So always building service businesses. And it takes a lot of thinking and at least 5 years to go from an operation business, like actually, even On Deck, right, was operational in nature.
Yeah.
It's not necessarily as scalable as a SaaS platform. So moving from operational stuff to SaaS, very hard.
Are you bearish on kind of the cohort-based courses stuff in general, or was that kind of accelerated by COVID? Or what are your thoughts on just broader creator education stuff?
Yeah. No, I'm never bearish on this stuff. I'm never bearish on anything cohort-based. So I'm still very, very bullish. I still think that completion rates are 10 times higher. I still think the days of buying a video on the internet and watching it is done. Like, remember the days when you could buy a DVD and rent it and put it in your desktop and then watch it? Yeah, those days are done. Similarly, the days of buying a video file and watching it on your own are done. People want to be part of communities. You see at conferences, we run conferences around the world called Nas Summit, right? We have this big ass, time for like talks and keynotes, and nobody pays attention because they just want to talk to each other. So the desire for education from people is at an all-time high. That's why I think cohort-based anything, cohort-based courses, cohort-based projects, cohort-based dating, for God's sake, is the future. But one second, Eric, what do you think? What do you think?
About cohort-based stuff?
Because you've done it.
Yeah, I think it's great. I think one challenge with the cohort-based stuff is historically the instructors had to do it every time.
Yes.
And so it becomes, instructor has to do it every time, and then does it develop network effects, right? Like as it gets bigger, does the community kind of drop in quality? That's just a challenge with communities in general. And so I think cohort-based courses are way better than normal courses, as you mentioned. But I do think that we need to figure out the problems of how to work with the instructor so that it's worth the instructor's time, repeatedly, and then how does the course get better as more people take the course?
Yeah, that makes sense. But actually, the same argument can be made about having an Instagram account. You have to continuously create content for the Instagram before it dies, right? So it's like there's nothing that builds up on top on social media. You have to always create content like a guinea pig, and I think the same applies to cohort-based, except when you create content for TikTok, you get views and no money. When you create content for your cohort-based or your community, you get money and no views. You decide what you want to index for.
Yes. I think that's well said. People like Dave Perel have had a bunch of success, others as well. I think, for the cohort, you're also coming for the community in some aspect, whereas on TikTok, you're just coming for the creator. So the TikTok can scale and has no negative network effects, whereas the cohort can have positive if the people are good, or it can have negative if the influx of people takes away from the network quality or whatever you're trying to create. And some cohorts,
I'm sure. I mean, when you say it, I believe you, bro. You've done it before, so I totally believe you.
Yeah, let's talk about the kind of emerging kind of capital sources for creators. We have some people are launching creator funds to invest in YouTubers or up and coming creators, and are trying to pitch LPs that, hey, this is a burgeoning asset class. Creators want capital. You can get good terms on it. You can get terms for 20, 30 years on their upside, not just in their channels, but in businesses that they start. When they exit, to what you were saying earlier. What do you think about these models? Is this the future?
No, I'm kind of bearish on that. I'm bearish on people buying a percentage of a creator. I'm bearish on you buying, let's say, 20% of a human's earning potential for the next 10 years, because people underestimate how much the incentives just do not align. People are trying their best to hide it. You want something where the incentives align, and I just think that's number one. Number two is, I think a creator is it's a flaky thing. A creator themselves is flaky, the flakiest subset of humans I've ever worked with. And that's okay, because they're very creative. They're not like an engineer. They're very creative. They imagine new things, but they're still flaky. So I think, these two things may result in catastrophic stuff. However, I am bullish on buying digital assets. So the models of buying old YouTube videos, the models of buying digital revenue generating assets, I'm bullish on that. Does that make sense? So I don't think people should buy the human. I think you should buy the human's creations. Then it's good.
That's really interesting. Talk about the misaligned incentives. Why are they misaligned, and what would it mean to align them?
When you buy a creator's earnings?
Yeah.
It's just that, it's going to become, a creator is like a lifestyle. It's not like, okay, I have this tiny thing that I'm doing on the side and you take a percentage of it. It's like everything I touch has something to do with this. Now, then you say, okay, I'm going to buy 10% of your earnings. But okay, which earnings? The YouTube earnings only? Okay. But then I'm going to build a company and sell on YouTube. Do you have 10% of that company either? Also, do you have 10% of every company I co-found? Do you have 10% of my investments as a creator? So it's like the limitations as to like where creator starts and where it ends are not very clear. Now, if you clarify them and all that stuff, that's fine. But then I think you must also remember most creators burn out after 2, 3, 4 years. And not only that, most platforms want to burn out their creators after 5 years. So now, like, what are you investing in exactly?
Yeah. Let's talk about Mr. Beast as a case study. And maybe Mr. Beast is the exception that proves the rule. Maybe he too is going to quote unquote burn out, to some degree if he hasn't already. When you talk about Mr. Beast as a case study, what can we learn or not learn from what he's doing?
I think he's been able to scale creativity. He's been able to scale content, and that's good, right? It's Darman actually is a hidden Mr. Beast, and people don't talk enough about him. But Darman and Mr. Beast have scaled creativity. That's good. I have chosen not to do that. And my Nas Studios is 40 people, and it just stays at Nas Daily, and that's it. I've chosen to scale technology. It's about like, you look at creators and you look at them, okay, what has this person decided to scale and take to the next level? The hardest form is to scale creativity. The easiest form is to scale products, physical products, like makeup brands and whatnot. And then, and also actually scaling technology can be just equally as hard. So I think it's different levels of scale. So, yeah, so Mr. Beast necessarily is not necessarily the only one, because there's a lot of Indian creators who built multi-billion-dollar companies, but people don't know about them in America, right? Like Baiju. Baiju built a $20 billion company, and he was a YouTuber before, and he was a creator before. On Academy, Gaurav, right? They built a $3 billion company, and he was a YouTuber. So you see those case studies. Physicswala. I mean, in India, left and right, creators are building billion-dollar companies, but nobody talks about them because America cares about America,
Yeah. So let's pick any one of those who has built a massive creator, content empire, but hasn't yet, done the full exit plan and built the next business. And maybe give one of them advice if you were kind of their advisor on how they can take what they've built content wise and expand it. Like Mr. Beast is the only one I know of in that group, and I know that he's incubating food companies and or product companies and has a fund, et cetera. Why don't you pick one of the people you mentioned or someone else and suggest what you would do if you were them in terms of how to have an exit plan?
For some of the creators that have built a big company,
built a big audience, but have not yet built the next thing.
Oh, got it. Like, so what's the exit plan for a big creator?
Yes. How to go big. Like, hey, you have an audience. So at a high level, some people are excited when they're talking about personal holding companies. This idea that you build an audience first, that audience brings you cash flow that allows you to not need to raise venture necessarily.
Yes.
And and also sell to build products that sell to that audience. Are you like let's say if you were building the YC for this type of person? Like, what would be your sort of Paul Graham advice on how to take your audience and build billion-dollar companies?
So I think the number one thing is think deeply about the risk, which is your face and then your image and your health. Because if the business is reliant on your face and your image, then you have problems. And I had that problem 2 years ago. I still have it a little bit, but not too much. So make sure that the whole brand does not rely on you. Find ways to change the brand. So like Casey Neistat, for example, like the brand is Casey Neistat. So that's going to be a little bit difficult to build a Casey Sim. Now, for me, Nas Daily, Nas used to be my nickname, but now like Nuseir is what I go with, and Nas is people. So I'm separating myself from the company. So my number one advice is separate yourself from the company and consider it as a media organization. The next advice is I think you should operate in what the audience expects you to operate in. Like, don't try to, if you're a food vlogger, don't try to create a sports company. So try to stay in your lane. And I know this sounds like very offensive, but stay in your lane, especially when you have a large audience. So these are probably the two main advices I would say. Also, I think having investors is not necessarily a bad thing. I have investors. I've raised $23 million, and not necessarily a bad thing. So consider having investors, and not necessarily putting all your eggs in one basket. So you can still have your cash flow for your personal holdings, and you can still start new companies, and you're just a co-founder of them, and then people just make these companies work.
Yeah. And the reason you separate yourself from the company is to just because some people say, hey, individuals are more attractive than brands. Why not just like lean all in on the individual? Is it because just the risk of, if something happens to your brand?
Yeah, the risk you're getting in like bad publicity. Like imagine if Jamie Oliver now, or Gordon Ramsay gets like sexual assault case,
Yeah.
God forbid. Like the brand is done, right? But if Gordon Ramsay started a, knife kitchen, call it knife, right? At least you mitigate that risk a little bit. So what I like, actually I do like the Mr. Beast is the brand, Jimmy is the person. So you could still have a Mr. Beast without Jimmy, and that's good. You can still have a Nas Daily without Nuseir. That's good. So I think you want to be able to have that. You cannot have a Casey Neistat without Casey Neistat.
Yeah, no, that makes sense. You mentioned earlier that the 1 minute video, now is the time for the 1 minute video even more.
Yeah.
Why is that, and what does that mean?
So when I started 7 years ago, the trend was to create 10-minute long YouTube videos and call it a day. Vlog a little bit, copy Logan Paul, and call it a day. But actually, that's not the trend. Like that's not the trend now. The trend now is vertical form, short, 1 minute long videos. That's it. So if you can do that, then you'll get the most distribution out of anybody in the world, because you just want to create the format that will get you the most views, and it's no longer 10-minute videos. So there's only 4 places you can have distribution now: YouTube Shorts, TikTok, Instagram Reels, Facebook Reels. Everything else is dying.
Yeah. And what is the framework of what needs to be in that 1 minute video for it to be, worth like great or worth putting out, or how do you think about how that's different?
I'm not really familiar with like prank content and entertainment content, but I'm familiar with educational content. It just has to have like massive educational value, massive. You need to be able to learn something new in 1 minute. It needs to have some sort of cult around it, like a format around it, right? So like every video I make ends with "that's 1 minute, see you tomorrow." Every video I make is about people. People relate to people a lot. People love people. So we make a lot of videos about people, right? So super educational value, like answering questions and answers in the video. Why are cats not called cats in Iraq? Right? Why did Iraq change the name of cats? I don't know. I kind of want to know, So I'm going to watch the video because there's an answer to it. So have an answer to a question. If you can do that in a minute, you win.
Yeah. And when you said these 4 platforms are what's hot, like how long is the shelf life? Like, let's say someone, invests a lot in these platforms.
Yeah.
Like in 2 years, are they gonna have to invest in new platforms, or how do we think about the shelf life?
The shelf life of the video or the channel?
Well, I guess the video is pretty short, I'm assuming, right? YouTube, people go back and watch, I imagine, but like TikTok, I imagine people aren't doing that as much. I just mean even of the platform followership.
I say most of your views you'll get in 1 week. YouTube has a pretty long shelf life. Like you'll get it after like 5, 6, 7 months. Your shorts will still get views, but TikTok has a very 1 week shelf life. Facebook has 1 week shelf life. It's always like new, but YouTube is not necessarily like, it's not about what's happening today, but TikTok is about what's happening today. And I think that's kind of like the difference between them. So that dictates the shelf life. And I really hate this about Facebook and TikTok because, it's like you work on this video for 2-3 weeks and then people watch it for 2-3 days and that's it.
Yeah. And even like, let's say I build a million followership on TikTok. Like, are you long-term bullish on TikTok? Like, is that, million followership like going to be relevant a couple years from now, or like, how do you think about,
Yeah, 1 million followers on TikTok is basically useless.
Or let's say 100 million, whatever. Whatever's the right amount.
Yeah, it actually means it's not a number. It's just not a number that matters. It's a useless number. So it's what you need to look at is like, the question you need to ask is, if I mastered the ability to create a good and compelling TikTok, if I have the script writing skills, the editing skills, and the video making skills to create a TikTok, what should I do? That's really what it is, because you have 1 million followers or 0 followers, it doesn't matter. If you have that master ability, then you'll win in every platform. So people should not aim to go viral. People should aim to master the ability to create a TikTok. And how do you do that? Well, if you make 10 TikToks and then 5 of them go viral, you've mastered that ability, right? That's good. You should be happy. You'll do well in any case.
Yeah. And so even if TikTok gets banned or whatever, you could just take that same skill, do it to another platform. Yeah, it makes sense.
Exactly. That's what matters.
So people listening in, some people are burgeoning creators, some people are aspiring creators. Help us understand, like, even a framework for thinking about, I know we've just said followers are useless, et cetera, but like how much money one makes, like based on what level of success. So obviously, like, you the best people, are doing very well. What's like a B tier creator, like just making annual, like how to think about so how much creators make?
I see most B tier creators making 10K a month. That's kind of like, I think the annualized like version of a creator is maybe 10K, maybe like 2-3K from the platforms, and then 7K from the brand. Let's say a couple of brand deals a month, and like you'll be good, right? And then maybe if you build a community, if you have a sustainable community that like pays you monthly, right, you can make another 5K. So you can make roughly 15K a month from creators, and that's why I advise everybody to start a community, a paid community, because that gets you a good recurring revenue, so you can rely on. So 15K or so, that's B tier. I think C tier is basically 2K. D is 0. A tier, it really shoots up to the roof. Our revenue as Nas company, like as a Nas ecosystem, is roughly $1 million a year, something like that.
Amazing.
Others can do 5 million. Others, I know of others that do 3 million a year, 3 million a month. Sorry.
Wow.
We do $1 million a month. No, we do $1 million a month. They do 3 million a month, 4 million a month. So it really depends on like where. But for that, those creators don't just get it from YouTube ads. Like from like our source of revenue, our $1 million a month, like we get from probably 20 different locations, not just one. 20 different locations. So that's like what's really important, diversification.
And what are even some of the examples of either you or others, like what do those locations look like at a high level?
High level is like one, the actual community, right? So we sell products to the actual community of Nas Daily, right? And the Nas Daily community supports you back. We have subscription products. We have Nas.io communities for creators, for beginner creators, for aspiring creators, whatever. We also sell education. We also sell production services. So, like you want a video to be made on your channels, we'll help you. We sell consultancies. We sell events, summits. We sell ads, like ads like from YouTube and whatnot. Speaking engagements, like a little, and then that's pretty much it.
Yeah. For people who want to build a community on your platform, let's say they want to take their audience and convert it to a community, what are the what's your high level advice on how to like best impact, best sort of add value to your community such that they retain for some time, and then maybe how to best monetize? Yeah.
So the way you should think about it is very simple, right? Step one, get a lot of views. So use social media for that. Step one, go big. But number of followers doesn't matter. Step two, funnel them into a community that has one purpose only. This is a travel community. This is a food community. In this community, I'm going to teach you this. In this community, you're going to meet people like you, okay? But has a well-defined community. Get them in, funnel them in, they meet each other. Then within the community, you do community commerce, right? Either you charge memberships, you sell them courses, you sell them events, you sell them experiences, you go travel together, whatever it is, you start to monetize within the community, right? Because at some point, increasingly, ads do not work for creators on the top brand. So you need the ads to start working on the bottom brand, right? So step one, get a lot of followers and views. Step two, get them in the community. Step three, sell to the community. Step four, engage. So that's kind of like how we think about it.
What are your thoughts on podcasts as an ecosystem? As I know you experimented with a podcast last year. Is that something that people in the community should be doing, or is that kind of redundant with the YouTube stuff, or how do you think about or other TikTok?
Yeah, the best use case of a podcast is to cut it down into 20 different short form content. Other than that, podcasts are useless.
Yeah,
in my opinion. I mean, you can make money. Like I think podcasts is very skewed towards the top 1%. Top 1% are making massive amounts on the podcast. But other than that, I don't see podcasts democratizing as much as they did. Like everybody wants to have a fucking conversation for 1 hour. Like who has time for us, bro? Like who the hell? If you are listening to us right now, me and Eric talking, like reconsider your life choices. Why the hell are you listening to us? There's better things to do. Eric will just take the best 1 minute and put it on TikTok and call it a day. So that's what I think about podcasts.
And this is probably one of those short form. Yeah, the best 1 minute. That's fascinating. I mean, one thing earlier on, you were talking about kind of the evolution of content over the years. You mentioned when you started, it was the vlogs, and now it's at 1 minute. Talk about kind of the evolution of the creator space a little bit, because when you were starting out, it was a much smaller space, and now it's kind of some people might call it a mature ecosystem, or it's certainly a growing ecosystem that has had its peaks and valleys of excitement, et cetera. Why don't you talk about kind of the evolution or different phases of the space and where we are right now in that evolution?
Yeah, I think we're still the first 5%. We haven't really scratched the surface yet. I still cannot get a credit card. I still cannot get a bank loan with 10 million revenue. I still cannot do that.
Wow,
it's crazy. So there's still a lot of work to be done with how creators are considered. That's one. Number two is we are generating 450 million views every month on the internet, and we get 1% of 1% of the value that we generate. 1% of the 1%. Imagine we're entertaining and educating 400 people, 450 million times every month.
Wow.
And that ad revenue from that is roughly $40K. And a fucking TV channel has millions of dollars for an ad that nobody watches. So I'm saying we're still so early in the way we think about monetization, and the way we reward creators, and the way creators monetize. That's why I'm giving up on creators actually having the best interests of creators in mind, the platforms. And I think creators should start taking control of the monetizations themselves, and not wait for YouTube or TikTok to give you money. Because I'll be honest, the people working at TikTok and Facebook and Instagram, they're not working fast enough. They're not working fast enough. And they have different ways to monetize, And so I've given up on waiting on these platforms to help us monetize.
Yeah. Did you consider at one point starting a fintech company to help, for lending for creators, or I maybe put it differently, what's your request for startups for creator? What do you want people listening to go build?
So one is community tools. I think we're building that. I've decided to take that on and build it. I think other tools that people need to do is content creation tools, like localization tools, like content management tools. I think content management is tough. Frame.io is terrible software. Somebody needs to build a better frame for content collaborative editing between you and your editors. I think content financing is possible, but a lot of people are working with that and still needs ways to go. Brand collaborations, brand sponsorships, a lot of software needs to be built for that. Monetization of offline monetization for creators, like experiences, like hotels and travel and whatnot. Lots of room to be played there. Representing brands for speaking engagements is still very difficult. A lot of room for mailing services for brands, for creators, right? I mean, a creator's email should be very different from a personal email, yet we still use the same fucking email. It's what the hell? If I miss one email, I could miss a $50,000 deal, and I cannot miss an email. But there should be an AI to help me run my business, a creator business at scale. And I just think these things still don't exist. So there's a lot of things to be built.
Yeah, you just dropped some gems there. If people go pursue it, let us know.
I think people are missing intimate spaces to connect. It used to be Facebook groups where everybody would build a Facebook group for specific people, for freelancers, for doctors, for lawyers. That's where the intimate spaces used to be at.
Yeah.
But that's no longer the case because people moved away from Facebook. Now everything is in the open. Every comment you put on the internet, everybody sees it on TikTok, on Instagram, whatever. So there's a desire for intimate spaces, the desire for intimate growing. So I think that's where community content could be big. And you can monetize it much better than free for all. Everybody can watch, everybody can do whatever they want.
Yeah, totally. And there's this business industry dive that is basically it sold for $500 million. Recently, I'm having the CEO on. What they do is they have news sites / newsletters for 25 different verticals, and those verticals are trade. It's trade media for utilities, waste, food. I don't know, spaces that are not sexy and don't have good media. And the reason why it's worth so much is because they're the best place. If you want to target CTOs in the waste industry, where else are you going to go?
Yes, exactly.
So they do what you mentioned earlier, which is they own their audience. It's and they have all the data on their audience, first party media, et cetera. And
Perfect.
so yeah, I'm going to start within tech, but I'm also curious potentially to go beyond it into some of these spaces.
Amazing. So you'll do the same thing, right? You'll use step one as a place to make a lot of TikToks, a way to get a lot of people's attention, then funnel them to a community from the community leader, then monetize it from there. I mean, that's literally what Nas.io was built for. So I think we're both operating in the same space. I'd be interested to see the tech that you build to make this possible, because that's going to be interesting.
Yeah, totally. Well, I'll keep you posted, and I'll also be looking into what you've built as well. Nuseir, you are an inspiration. Thank you so much for coming on the podcast. I've learned a lot from our conversation, and look forward to more.
Thank you, Eric. And if anybody's still watching this, thank you for staying to the end. I'm sorry for attacking you sometime in the middle of this podcast.
No, that was amazing.
Thank you, Eric. Good luck.
Riverside is a presenting sponsor of Media Empires. It's an essential part of our tech stack. Riverside makes scaling a media business possible for us and so many podcasters and creators. It's our online recording studio, not just for the show, but across the entire podcast network. Riverside lets us record interviews with the best guests from wherever they are in the world. Our team can also cut short-form clips directly from Riverside, because as any listener of this show knows, you create once and then publish everywhere. Sign up for Riverside.fm today by following the link in the description box and use our code Media Empires to get a 20% discount.